Okay, I want you to imagine something for a second. Imagine a tradition, a deeply revered spiritual path, where the Supreme Creator doesn't just sit untouched on some distant, perfect throne. Instead, this deity actually experiences human vulnerabilities. We're talking about a religion where God literally gets sick, needs medicine, eventually dies, and is then physically reborn. It sounds completely paradoxical, right? I mean, how on earth can the eternal experience mortality? Well, today, we are going to explore exactly how this happens in one of the most fascinating spiritual centers in the entire world.
Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving deep into the ancient 900-year-old mystery of the Puri Jagannath tradition. And let me tell you, we are covering the whole shebang today. We're going to journey from the hushed, locked-door inner sanctums of a medieval temple all the way out to arguably the grandest, most vibrant public spectacle on Earth. We'll look at the mind-blowing architectural legacy, these incredibly secretive rituals, and a philosophical approach to the divine that honestly might just change how you view the cycle of life itself. All right, let's start with Section 1, the Emperor's Enduring Foundation and the Legacy of King Anantavarman Chodaganga Deva. To really wrap our heads around this tradition, we have to start way back in the 11th century. And the first thing you need to know is a number, 72 years. That is how long King Anantavarman ruled the Eastern Ganga Empire. To put that into perspective, historical inscriptions tell us that makes him one of the longest ruling monarchs of the entire Middle Ages. And trust me, he wasn't just sitting around quietly. He was an absolute powerhouse. He actually held a title that translates to the Lord of 99,000 elephants. Now, historians kind of agree that number is a bit of a royal flex, maybe an exaggeration, but it definitely hits home the sheer terrifying military might he commanded.
And he definitely used that muscle to build a vast empire. His conquests happened rapidly. First he took Utkala, then he pushed south into Vengi, and finally expanded north all the way into Bengal. He amassed just an unbelievable amount of wealth and resources from these campaigns. But what did he actually do with it all? Well, he channeled it into art, astronomy, and architecture. Most importantly for us, this massive concentration of wealth allowed him to rebuild the great Jagannath temple at Puri right on top of its ancient ruins. This monumental stone structure stands today as a massive testament to his devotion, and it marked a huge personal transition for him, moving from his Shaivite roots over to Vaishnavism.
Moving right along to Section 2, Keepers of Divine Secrets, focusing on the Dea Patati servitors.
You know, a temple is really just a pile of stones without the people who breathe life into it. So stepping away from the grand architecture and moving into the shadows of the inner sanctum, we find what is easily one of the most remarkable aspects of the entire Jagannath tradition. Normally, you've got your traditional Vedic Brahmins. These are Orthodox priests who strictly follow very formal ritual codes. But here, you also have the Dayapathis. And the thing is, they aren't Brahmins at all. They're actually descendants of a Sabora tribal chief named Vishwavasu. Yet inside this specific temple, it's the tribal Dayapathis who share this incredibly intimate, physical kinship with the deities. They are literally considered the kin of God. It's a real game changer because it beautifully illustrates a radical inclusivity, where indigenous tribal descendants wield the most intimate spiritual authority, completely overriding traditional caste hierarchies.
And this kinship, it is never more obvious than during a period called Anavasara. Every single year, after a massive public bathing festival, Lord Jagannath and his siblings are believed to fall physically ill. During this feverish fortnight, the Orthodox priests actually step back and the Dayapathis take over. Just look at the tasks they perform. They prepare Dasmula herbal medicines, they gently massage the wooden idols with soothing oils, and get this, they even sing Chandan Ghoda Gita, which are soft lullabies meant to comfort the sick deities. It's just so deeply human. They treat the Lord not as some distant creator, but as a beloved ailing family member.
Which brings us to Section 3, the rebirth of gods and the absolute mystery of Nabakhalabera.
So, what happens when the physical form simply wears out? This brings us to the absolute most spine-tingling and secretive aspect of the whole tradition. It's called Nabakhalabera, which literally translates to new embodiment. The wooden deities are actually replaced, and it happens in 3 incredibly eerie steps. First, they have to find the Daru. These are sacred neem trees that have specific divine signs, like a chakra symbol, and they can't have any bird nests in them at all. Second, they carve these trees in total absolute isolation inside a secret garden called Koili Baikunta. And third, the climax. At midnight, in pitch-black darkness, a specially chosen Dayapatapi, who is completely blindfolded and has his hands bound, transfers the Brahma Padartha, this mysterious unknown soul substance, from the old idol into the new one. After that, the old bodies are ceremoniously buried.
And get this, no outsider has ever seen this transfer. No camera has ever captured it. Legend says that anyone who looks upon the Brahma Padartha will die instantly. Now, obviously, in our modern age of oversharing, this level of intense secrecy sparks a lot of controversy. But I think this quote from our sources perfectly sums it up. Their secrecy is not ego, it is protection. The Diapatis are fiercely guarding their ancestral oaths, they're protecting ritual purity, and they're maintaining a spiritual legacy that honestly defies human logic.
Okay, let's look at Section 4, the Kitchen of Unity, and the Mahaprasad.
So let's pivot from those locked-door secrets to something radically inclusive, the divine food. There are two main categories of offerings here. First up is sukila, boga. These are dry, sweet offerings, things like puffed rice and coconut slices, which are perfect for devotees to take home with them. Then you have sankudi boga, which are wet-cooked meals like rice, lentils, and spiced vegetables. But here is the fascinating theological catch. This food only becomes Mahaprasad, meaning it's fully infused with divine grace, after it is first offered to Lord Jagannath and then re-offered to the goddess Bimala.
And guys, the scale of this operation is literally off the charts. This food is cooked in the Rosaghara, which is recognized as the world's largest kitchen. It's prepped by designated cooks called suarars, and they strictly use traditional earthen pots and firewood, no modern conveniences whatsoever, and absolutely no tasting allowed during cooking. But the real magic happens when that food leaves the kitchen and heads to the Ananda Bazaar, the temple's massive open food court. Out there, millions of devotees sit down shoulder to shoulder, completely ignoring caste, creed, or social status, and they just eat together. It is a powerful, beautiful daily equalizer.
Finally, Section 5, Journey of the Chariots and the Grand Rath Yatra Spectacle. So once a year, this whole spirit of breaking down barriers just explodes out into the open. The secluded deities literally step out of their sanctum to mingle with the masses. This 900-year-old festival unfolds across 4 massive phases. It starts with Akshaya Tritiya, which kicks off the massive chariot construction. Then comes Snana Purnima, that grand bathing event we talked about earlier that causes the Lord's illness. After that is Pahandi Bijay, where the Daidapetis escort the fully recovered deities aboard these absolutely towering chariots. And finally, after spending some time at their aunt's temple, the Bahuduyatra marks their glorious return journey home.
But right before those massive chariots are pulled by millions of devotees, a really vital ritual takes place, the Charapahanra. The king of Puri himself steps onto the chariots and literally sweeps the floors with a golden broom. It completely hits the nail on the head regarding the core philosophy of this entire tradition. It is the ultimate symbol of humility. It beautifully blends the highest royal authority with the absolute deepest spiritual devotion. It essentially tells the world that in the eyes of the divine, a mighty king and the humblest street sweeper are exactly the same.
Which brings us to our final takeaway. Through the architectural legacy of Emperor Anantavarman, the intimate love of the tribal Dayatapatis, the unified kitchen, and the grand spectacle of those chariots, we see a tradition that is breathtakingly human. The mystery of the Nabakhalebra shows us that while physical forms change, the essence always remains. So I'll leave you with this question to ponder. If even the divine itself embraces mortality, illness, and the inevitable cycle of change, how might we learn to embrace the transformations, the endings, and the rebirths in our own lives? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning and keep learning.